Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be joined today by Steve from Tesco Media. I, for one, know there is still so much to learn about retail media, so very, very excited to hear about what you've got to say. As we all know, retail media has been around for a long time before it started to become a buzzword, and Tesco obviously is a leader within this space. So it'd be great if you could kind of give us a bit of an overview around sort of how you started with retail media.
Certainly. So great to be here. One of my favourite topics is obviously retail media. I am, I'd say, a veteran of retail media, so I've been in the business a long time. In terms of Tesco actually started really with retail media about 20 years ago. So whilst we all talk about it today, actually this has been something that's been happening with Tesco and other retailers for a significant amount of time. My own personal journey, I joined Tesco 16 years ago now and actually started selling retail media. So back in the day, we used to sell club cards. So, you know, club cards, nothing new. Again, Dunnhumby started club card with Tesco. And what we do is a lot of targeting. So we'd be targeting lapsed customers through mailings, through coupon at till. We'd also sell Tesco.com and we'd sell things like Tesco Magazine. Now, certainly not the slick organisation that we are today, but it started with that kind of foundation. And particularly with Tesco, and I'd say with Dunnhumby, very much a customer-first business. So when we started, the mantra was always, think of the customer. How are we going to benefit the customer? If we can benefit the customer, we can grow for the retailer and we can grow for the client or the agency. So that's been the mantra, and I don't think that's changed for 20 years in reality. We've just become a lot more advanced and work with a lot more channels such as Infosum. So I think that's kind of the summary.
Perfect. Well, yeah, good to see that we've got kind of a veteran in the game with us today. It would be great if you could take us on the journey of sort of what your approach has kind of been to retail media and also collaboration within that space.
Yeah, great. So the company I started with was Dunnhumby, which is very much a customer insight business. So when I started, the first thing we always looked at was the customer, really understand the customer. Again, saying it, how do you put the customer at the centre of the journey? So what we started with was actually media planning, so using tools such as the shop, which is still available and has evolved over the years, but understand behaviours within Tesco and use those for planning. So we started with that. I'd say as we kind of thought around that space, it became very apparent that nobody has to lose here. This is very much about winning. So when we do the right thing for the customer, it ends up being the right thing for the retailer and ultimately for the advertiser or the client. So building against this ethos, and that's how we've evolved our media business to the, to the advanced model that it is today. And over that time, very much about bringing on channels. So evolving the store proposition, which when I started didn't really exist, to actually what it is today, digital signage, scan as you shop, POS, radio, so many ways to interact with the customer. And then the other channels that have evolved over time, so whether it's ITV, Channel 4, Meta, and then on-site propositions, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. But very much the journey has been actually how do you stitch those together around the customer and around one common data set.
Cool, thank you so much. I'm sure that it's great to have that background, but I'm sure what everyone is really excited to find out is more about sort of the benefits that you as a business have seen as a result of retail media, and also as a result of some of the collaborations that you've created off the back of that. So it'd be great if you could tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that everyone talks about with retail media is the benefit of measurement, that you have this closed loop and you can really understand when you're activating what is the outcome. And an outcome can be for a product or it can be for a brand, but it can also be for a category. So great examples we've seen with media over time have been things where you've got low alcohol launches or zero alcohol, where actually it's very much about a brand almost launching a new category. So we see that the brand benefits and it actually brings customers into the brand, and you now have new customers buying into a specific type of zero alcohol. but actually you get this halo effect within a category as well. So when we're looking at insights, we're not just thinking about what actually happens for the product or the brand, we're thinking about the halo effect and how it affects the store and how it affects the customer and how they're engaging. And we can get into intricate detail, things like repeat purchase. So once we've seen a customer and they've bought a product, they've tried it for the first time, how do they keep buying it? So really starting to understand things like lifetime value. And that's beneficial to the retailer, but also to the client. So I think it's this bit of stitching together the win-win-win model. So actually, when we're doing this work, everyone's seeing the benefit. There's not one party that's winning and someone else isn't. And ultimately, again, putting the customer at the heart of that. So when we're building out science or targeting, actually we're thinking about the customer need, we're thinking about how creative aligns to that. And that's definitely the journey we've gone on and still going on to improve the business every day.
Great. I guess in terms of kind of those collaborations, they're only really as successful as the people that you're working with. So it'd be great to get some, I don't know, case studies around or examples of successes within kind of the agency and CPG space and those that you work with closely, especially given you've obviously recently had kind of a big announcement with a particular agency group.
Yeah. So I think collaboration has really evolved and it's really important. It's one of our values as a business. So we have 4 values, one of which is collaboration. And working with suppliers, clients, agencies to build that is absolutely key. In terms of success, I'd always come back to starting with the insight. So a really good example was a campaign a couple of months ago with Wavemaker for Alprolicious. So just some kind of basic insights. So what we could see when we just looked at the plant-based dairy category was that 80% of customers who buy into that category also buy dairy. So that's all right. That's interesting because I think there could be a preconception that if you're buying soya milk, actually that's your staple. But actually, that's not the case. 80% are buying dairy. And then when we look further at that, actually what you could see was 5 in 1 actually over-indexed in milk. So what we were seeing is that actually there was these customers who were trying the category, but actually not really engaging it fully. So the campaign was built very much about how do we engage with all of these customers who buy once or twice, but actually turn them into a very loyal customer. And that's kind of how we activated against. I'd come back to the model that we've kind of evolved, which is very much sofa to store. So we've planned an audience. We're then looking to activate that against all the different channels, some of the standard channels like on-site and store. Other bits of innovation that have started to really flow through, so things like scan as you shop, so targeting customers as they're walking around the store with the handheld scanner, or even the likes of ITV, so actually bringing this into above the line. So what you've got now is a full funnel plan centered around some insight, centered around an audience and driving to outcomes. In terms of the outcomes, it is in the public domain, so you can certainly go and see a lot of the results that happened, but ultimately significant sales lift, which was, I think, 35% across the board, so very big sales uplift. And then all of the metrics, so it could be an increase in customers, an increase in repeat purchase, an increase in ROAS, so really delivering against those metrics. And personally, from even from my media planning days, I now work in as a propositions director. But that was the absolute thing that drew me to dunnhumby and Tesco, was this ability to take insight, which is really granular, ultimately benefits the customer, turn it into a plan, and then activate against it. And I think retail media is just super exciting because it gives you that ability to go right through the line, above the line, CTV, some of the most interesting areas that you could possibly be, down to the actual converting the customer, so sponsored search or other areas. So yeah, that's kind of really taking that kind of insight approach and bringing it to something tangible and outcomes based.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we obviously see at Infosum is like you're sat on such a wealth of first party data. use it to help plan your campaigns more effectively. And you've obviously got amazing case studies around that. My next question, and I'm sure if there are any other kind of retail medias or marketers in the room, is around, you'll all be really interested, but is around kind of what advice you've got for other retailers. And I was in the pub with Steve yesterday, and I know he's got a lot of information around this that he can probably share. So,
yeah, I think there's a lot of complexity in retail media, but I tie it down to 2 points. So first one is the data set. So often we get into activation very quickly in retail media, but actually having a common data set is so important for any retailer or anyone in that space that if you want to understand your customer, you need to understand and have all the controls that are in place around your data. So setting that up is absolutely key. And then second to that is building it around the customer, which is definitely the theme of the discussion, I'd say. But once you take that data, you understand the customer, then actually how do you activate in the right time, with the right offer, and have the right metrics that you're looking to achieve against that. So 2 things, customer and data, I'd say.
Customer and data. Okay, 2 things to remember from today. Finally, I'm getting the 2-minute warning. It would be great to hear from you kind of how you see this space, I guess, evolving or changing in the future.
Yeah, I think that, again, there's a lot of retail media covers pretty much all elements of media to a certain degree. So there's lots that can happen. There's a few points I'd raise. So the first one is having a platform. So when we talk about data, actually, how do you interact? Within Tesco Media, we use a product called Sphere, which brings all of the insights, it brings the activation, the audiences, and then it'll move that into an activation channel. So actually, how do you create that one view of the customer is point one. Yeah. I think there's a point around ROAS. So historically, we all talk about ROAS. Retail media is way more than ROAS now. It's about lifetime value, it's about new to brand, it's about understanding customer behaviors. So a lot of work that's been done historically actually starts coming into the retail media space. I think there's a bit around org as well. As the industry changes, actually you need to think about how you interact with this new area. Certainly in the media space, we talk to lots of different teams, TV specialists, social specialists, digital out-of-home specialists, and actually how do you start building that ecosystem? And then finally, I think there's a piece around innovation. So we have, in Tesco, stores are changing. We have get-go stores where you can just scan your club card and pick up products and walk in. Actually, that changes the game for retail media because now you know who the customer is, you know how they walk around the store. There's significant things that can happen there. And finally, which is the thing that gets talked about all the time, Gen AI. So Gen AI does play a part in retail media, be it creative, data science, workflow. Actually, there's a ton of stuff that will bring to the industry in the next half year, 2 years, etc. So cool. a few pointers there.
Yeah, you managed to drop AI in at the last minute. So I think hopefully kind of as a key takeaway for everyone, even after 20 years of kind of Tesco Media being around, there is still lots of learnings and lots of innovation to happen within the space. If anyone's got any questions for Steve, you can come and find him or me at the Infosum umbrella in the Mad Marquee, table 28. Thank you so much.
Thank you.